This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by Slice on Broadway, supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza. Production services by Sidekick Media Services. And listeners like you, supporting us at patreon.com/AwesomeCast.
I'm getting awesome, you're getting awesome, we're getting awesome, yeah, that's what I said now. I'm getting awesome, you're getting awesome, we're getting awesome, yeah, that's what I said. Nightmares, I don't care, I love it.
It's time to get geeky, get awesome. It is the AwesomeCast. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on Twitter here in the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, ready to talk geeky things with you this evening. First of all, we have with us from Studio C in the Big D of Dormont, PA. It's a gadget guru, big budget international, what the hell, the Big Bank International Esquire. John Chichilla is with us. Sir.
You just make up something new. Big Bubba's Fish Company.
Big Bubba's Fish Company.
Well, it'll be like the intro to Simpsons. It'll be something new every week.
Yes, yeah, exactly. What's up? What's our couch gimmick for this week? It's whatever I blurt out when I'm trying to not actually say your employer. So, anyways, no, hey, good to have you back on, sir.
It's good to be back. Happy to be here.
Well,
hopefully I can continue to make consecutive shows over and over.
Absolutely. And also back with us over at the iPhoneography podcast. Please go check that out. Is Dave Podnar joining us again?
Thanks, Sorg. Thanks for having me on. I mean, admittedly, I'm not quite the streaker Chilla is. I have intermittent streaking, but I try.
I'm a streaker? Oh, the streak of the show.
The streak of the show. He got worried for a second there is what happened.
Did those videos leak?
Oh no, your phone's been hacked. And we got a special guest with us, a videographer that helped me out on a great MMA show with Showcase MMA on Spectation Sports Channel. In where the heck were we? Kingsport, Tennessee.
Yeah,
That we were
the illustrious large town of Kingsport, Tennessee.
Who, by the way, if you're not on video, he may be putting Chilla's 4K camera look to shame with this setup right now. Miles Levrio joining us now. Like look at this. Are you running a DSLR or something, or is that the Zoom?
Yeah, you pay $1,500 for the DSLR. You have to use it for something.
That's
so.
right. So that's awesome. Thanks. Now we'll get into it a little bit, but you did a project on the trip down in Tennessee this past week, and that we're going to talk about here. So I'm really excited, and that's why we got Dave on and Chilla, some photography guys. So I'm going to let you guys geek out over that here during the Awesome Things of the Week. But thanks for joining us.
Yep, happy to be here.
So let's get some business done. First of all, if you have not checked us out before, please go check out everything on AwesomeCast.com, AwesomeCast at SorgatronMedia.com. If you want to get at us, tweet us at the AwesomeCast Twitter page, Facebook page, and group for the AwesomeCast. And we are live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Facebook, on the YouTube page for AwesomeCast, and the Sorgatron Media Twitch page, however you would like to view the show. Please also subscribe to the podcast. Look for AwesomeCast on your favorite podcast provider, or you can sign up for subscribe to the Sorgatron Media Master Feed that has this and several other podcasts coming from the Sorgatron Media Network, including the Wrestling Mayhem Show, Comic Book Pit, and our buddies, our D&D buddies over at the Bardic Mystery Tour when they're having episodes up. And a big shout out to our friends at postindustrial.com sharing the awesomeness. Also, shouts to our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/awesomecast. Our friends at the Coffee Club, Matt Weller, John DeGore, John Carmen, Cynthia Klosky, Scott McTaggart, and Mike Pound. And our friends at the Fan of the Show level, Michael Fedora, pgsmuseums.org, Professor Buzzkill, and hey, Dave Podnar's here. So, and a supporter as well. Thank you so much for joining, for supporting the show, helping to literally keep the lights on, keep the servers up for this podcast as we go. So let's get into our awesome things of the week. Let's hit up you. You got some hard news here, it looks like, Dave.
Yeah, well, there's, believe it or not, there's still auto shows going on.
What?
I know it's hard to believe. And the big push is electric.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't just one or two or Teslas. Nothing wrong against Teslas. Okay, I'll say this. Nothing against Teslas per se.
But they're an outlier, right?
They're a bit of an outlier, and they're not cheap.
Right.
And for me, you know, you're looking at the cheapest Tesla being at least 40,000. I know that, and they're past the tax rebates, but that still isn't cash back in your money. That's
right.
Tax rebates, which isn't exactly the same.
Right.
So for me, you know, Teslas are great. They are starting to expand down, but they're still $40,000. So even the cheapest electric, you know, the smaller ones like the Hyundai Kona type things, or the smaller ones, they're still $34,000.
Right.
Which, you know, that to me, you're getting into serious, and that's the low end serious money to get to electric vehicle. You can't get to the masses unless you get into the mid to lower 20s. And that's where a lot of hybrids are now. You know, you can actually get a hybrid for mid 20. And the one company that's kind of been missing with a pure electric, not hybrid electric, but pure electric, is Toyota. Because Hyundai, Kia, they're going big. Ford's going big with the F-150. GM's starting to get big into it. But Toyota announced that they're going to spend $13 billion over the next 9 years on electric vehicles, and specifically battery technology. So that to me is a big deal when you get a company like Toyota that's not just, we're going to buy batteries off of supplier A or supplier B, but they're going to I'm guessing, invest in their own technology. They mentioned about more going to solid state versus liquid. It's kind of weird to think of lithium ion batteries as liquid, but it is a liquid in there. It's not truly a solid state battery. Kind of going back to high school chemistry. So the fact that they're investing this much money, and they're trying, and you see a lot of car companies, not just one or two, going into, now whether they can do it or not, we'll see. Whether this is CEO level talk or they have actually talked to any engineers who say this is doable or not. But they're talking about going and saying, we're going to have all electric fleets or 50% electric fleets in the next 10 years. That, and then Toyota pushing this out by 2030. Now, admittedly, someone puts R&D into something, it's going to take 5 years, 10 years maybe for it to go mass market. But the start of it is trying to figure out, how to make these batteries smaller where you can charge them quicker, and you need basic R&D for that. And this is a good hunk of money by Toyota.
And the fact that so many are going into it means somebody's going to figure out this thing, right? Yeah.
Right. So it isn't just a company doing this or even a consortium of companies but it's everyone hitting it from all different angles. So that to me, and honestly, I saw someone post a kind of I don't want to call it a counterfactual, but kind of a counterfactual. Imagine if we had electric vehicle, because in the very, very beginning, in the early 1900s, there were battery cars and there were gas cars.
Mm-hmm.
And there was not one really dominant over the other in the very beginning. It's more of the battery technology couldn't keep up with how good the internal combustion engine was for producing, for a certain amount of fuel that you're carrying, how far you can go. But imagine now saying you're used to, let's say, charging at home every day. Your vehicle, for most people, even if you drive 100 miles in a day, that's a long distance for most people for one day. And most of these electric cars can get 200-300 plus miles. You're saying, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to have you store this flammable liquid and you're going to ride around with it. And every so often you're going to have to stop and pay someone to get this refill of this liquid that actually probably comes from halfway around the world and puts out all this pollution to go from in the ground to in your vehicle. And what comes out the end of the car isn't exactly good for you either.
Mm-hmm.
If you come to it from not, it's something we've all had, it's a different thought process. So like I said, seeing this and just having these batteries, I can see Toyota, and they mentioned this too, but Toyota could say, well, this is going to be great for EVs, but we still have people who want the safety net of a gas vehicle. Well, that's your hybrid or your plug-in hybrids. So if they can make the batteries cheaper and put in their hybrids and maybe smaller and more efficient, those same batteries will work for, let's say, a plug-in, a hybrid, and an electric vehicle. And Toyota has a pretty good track record with dealing with hybrids. Since they weren't the first ones out. I know Honda, the original Honda Insight was the first mass production hybrid way back. They beat the Prius by, I think, at less than half a year, but the Prius is what caught on.
Mm-hmm.
And Toyota, I'm sorry.
The Honda looked like a mini spaceship. It was all weird with the like the tires covered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can almost tell Honda let all the engineers go at it and didn't ask any of their designers, would anyone buy this thing?
But that's kind of the concept. That's the concept car level, right? Like when they're doing that kind of thing, it'll get pretty crazy. So, no, it's good to see. I don't know if I landed on it. I was trying to see if I found a Honda electric vehicle. I don't think this is the one you were talking about. This looks pretty standard right here. So, but
I remember the one of the first all electrics, and I don't know where it came in amongst the competitors, but the Nissan Leaf was another huge one,
Mhm.
all electric. But the one thing that did turn me off about that is it was, I think the one of the first gens was only 130 miles per charge, and that's not bad. I mean, by all means, most of my days I'm never going that far, but be stretching it for going to visit family members in certain other states and certain distances, and then you offset that with rental. Do you try to? I like the idea of the hybrid, or if they could get it well over, even like look at like family vacations, things like that. I don't know. That's where it makes me nervous. Or do you just build in to your trip? Hey, I'm going to stop and have dinner at this place and hope I can get enough charge to get me the rest of the way.
Yeah, and you do see garages and everything that like there's as you travel, I've noticed that there are more places that kind of say, and we have EV charging, right? So for exactly that kind of thing, whether it be like tourist traps and things like that are starting to get a little smarter with that. At least like I guess kind of the higher end tourist traps of sorts. I don't think you're going to get this in the middle of the desert in New Mexico, at the Route 66 store, but but it's possible. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. No, good to see that more's going into it too. So, Chilla, tell me what Microsoft's up to.
So I was surprised to see this. So Microsoft announced they're buying a company called Clipchamp, and Clipchamp specializes in lightweight video editing.
Okay.
And it's all based actually on the simplicity of a web app, which we've kind of talked about this before. I think with Microsoft, with its, when you think of where they've gone with Xbox and streaming and everything along those lines, they could probably back end this to make it work pretty well. I wouldn't say from the looks of it, and I didn't get to test this because I just read this afternoon. There is a free version of the tool out there, and right on there, it's clipchamp.com. There's a free version. I think you can only export in 480p, but it is free. And then it starts as low as $9 a month, which gives you unlimited video exports, 720. They'll actually do cloud media backup, and then they provide unlimited audio stock. You can go all the way up into their business platinum, which gives you 1080p exports, the cloud media backup, unlimited audio stock and video stock, as well as custom branding. So it's almost like you could maybe become your own YouTube, depending on what that backup looks like and how you may be able to replay. One of the things that I thought was pretty cool is all the platforms offer, bringing in your own assets, basic editing, webcam recording, screen recording. So you're getting a lot of the basics in there. Where I think this is going to go, I think this is going after your iMovie type. And I still feel like the Windows platform doesn't have really anything like this that's just out of the box. And I'm sure, based on the monthly cost, is this just going to be kind of a, hey, you get the $9 a month feature with Office if you're subscribing to Office Online, because they are raising that price next year. This, to me, they keep adding more to that platform without a price hike. I know some people were upset. Stockholders definitely weren't with the up in price for Office 365 home, and I can't remember what the other premium I think it is, or family. But I don't know. They could probably easily add this on for free and keep and maybe even gain some additional people. The cool thing too that I saw, and I haven't played around. Like I said, I haven't played around with it. But there's some kind of collaborative editing feature. So Sorg, I know you've talked about, hey, I wish I could, provide someone an out of the box, XYZ virtual machine or whatever. Maybe this kind of gets you to that point too, where you don't need the virtual machine. You can everyone can co-author, almost like simultaneously editing a Google Doc.
Yeah, like I'm looking. It seems like it's more or less geared towards kind of the social media videos, from the looks of things. And if you're on audio, you didn't see that on video. I completely signed up to the free version, and I'm now in a project that from a template. Again, it looks like kind of like a square. It's still kind of importing. I'm on kind of a slower 4th gen i5 on this computer, but it loaded. I mean, other than kind of the assets downloading, and it's doing this importing thing right now, but it's pretty slick, pretty straightforward. It looks like you have a lot of tools here for recording text. Stock images and stock videos look like they're included in this interface. Like, this is nice. This is nice to just be like, hey, just do some quick videos for social media. Here you go. We're doing something similar with that actually lately with Adobe Spark, using that because that's where we make a lot of our graphics, and we started sharing that over with and collaborating over on Just Pro Wrestling News podcast with that, and that's worked out really well lately. So like between that, and I know Canva's become a big thing on the graphic side, right? Like this seems to fit right into that kind of thing. And even now I'm looking, this is interesting. Like there is some looks like there's a little dude here that you can chroma key in or something like that. Add to the timeline. You have a lot of options here of just like a person in a hard hat and a coat kind of standing there, and workers and things like that kind of walking in. So like there's a lot. This looks like it has a lot to it. I can't say that we're going to edit like a professional project on this, but for like kind of simple, hey, throw together some assets for social, like it feels like it makes a ton of sense for somebody that doesn't like know a Premiere or Final Cut or Resolve or anything like that, right? So, Miles, as a video professional, a little bit you're seeing of this here. I don't know if you're pulling it up on your side. What do you think of something like this?
It's interesting, and I like you were just talking about. I've used Adobe Spark, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So Adobe Spark. I've used a couple of those like lightweight editors, and they're great. I mean, in terms of like how I feel about it as a videographer, I don't think that anybody's worried about these things like eliminating jobs or something like that. But I think it's a cool. It's definitely. I mean, if it's got a lot of features, it's great. Get it into people's hands and get them creating and let people sort of figure out this stuff on their own. I actually think it's really interesting. The acquisition of it is particularly interesting to me because I just today and yesterday I've been doing a lot of reading and learning about the new Windows 11 update and the push that they've been doing with that. And I haven't loved a lot of the features that they're doing with it, but it seems like their big push is, user friendliness. People on tablets, people on mobile devices, people that aren't necessarily super tech savvy. I think it's interesting that they would go after something like this and potentially, use some of these sort of lightweight applications to integrate into Windows 11 or something like that, and provide some more sort of entry level or like user friendly jumping off points in their new operating system and other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just kind of adds that usability side, doesn't it? So which also that's a complaint about Windows 11 because they're afraid they're making it too user friendly, and the people that like the openness of Windows might have a problem with this next version. So, which is always kind of a battle for something like that. I mean, we're having the same problem on the Mac side where they're gatekeeping a lot of applications, right? And we're worried it's going to get locked down as the phones and tablets. Sorry, Chilla, you were starting to say?
I feel like they haven't paid attention to like the basics in a long time, and I think I also saw they teased the Photos app rework, and then they're also bringing a decent update to Paint.
Mm-hmm.
To the point made earlier, I don't think Paint's ever going to replace Photoshop.
Well, by the way,
a darn good lasso tool. That'd be nice.
Before I got upgraded somebody to Spark, they were using Microsoft Paint to do all of their graphics for the podcast for about 6 months of the show. So I mean, they looked pretty good. So, but I'm sure they were not. I'm sure that he took twice as much time in order to do it. at that point. But yeah, no, absolutely. And I keep forgetting that there is a video editor in Windows, isn't there? Because didn't they get rid of it for a while and now it's back?
I thought they did get rid of.
Did they get rid of it? I don't know. There's one on this one, so and I've never used it before. But I just typed in video editor in Windows and there it was. So hold on, let me check this. Is everybody checking their Windows machine?
Oh yeah, I just checked. I have it too. I've never opened this.
Like, I wonder if it came back. It must have come back in one of the updates or something, right? Huh. So
they sneak all sorts of stuff in there in these updates.
So, I mean, and these are mostly, I try not to update the main machine that we do this stuff on. But like these guys, I do because I want to make sure like Zoom and everything's going to work on it. Right. So, so, I mean, it's nice that there is that. I don't know. I still don't think it's going to be as, hopefully it's something like what they're buying. Because I don't think their video editor is as fleshed out as iMovie. People are doing entire careers on iMovie on YouTube. So, you don't need most people don't need Final Cut or Premiere, for those kinds of videos.
Did both of you upgrade from Windows 8, or did you have a prior Windows build?
Most of these probably updated from Windows 8 in front of me now, but some of them have been reformatted. So that doesn't mean that it would have everything that it had before. Because I even have video editor on this that I know I've reformatted. So,
but I just know that there is an announcement out because I started looking for information. Movie Maker, part of Windows Essentials from 2012, is no longer available for download.
That was Movie Maker. This is Video Editor, which is a part of the Photos app.
Oh, it's a part of the Photos app. Yes, I did.
Because this is actually, as I look at this now, this apparently is the Photos app that we have here, and they have a video editor in it. So I think they just had updated that and included a video editor. So there you go. My awesome thing real quick before we get to our feature here. So I have been digging into some Apple Arcade. First of all, I do enjoy the digital pinball games, and there's a Zen Pinball Party. I'm familiar with Zen Pinball because you would have to purchase the tables, and they were really good about having kind of branded tables and things like that. I don't know if they're going to kind of rotate in this, but this is an all-inclusive one, and it has How to Train Your Dragon. Geez, I forget what else I was playing on this, but it has a couple branded ones as well as some of the classic Zen Pinball games. Looks really good on my iPhone 8 Plus, and of course it's with everything it's a cross-platform to your Mac and your Apple TVs as well. And then the other one that I jumped back into, this is a game that I always enjoyed, but I hated the freemium model of it, so I never would stick around with it too long. Airborne? No. Wait, Asphalt. Sorry, Asphalt 8 Airborne, I think is the undercard on that. That got added to Apple Arcade, so you have your Asphalt 8 Plus. Is a very kind of arcadey, Need for Speed, Burnout-esque, pick up your nitros and go kind of game. And I've really been enjoying those, just like the Detonation Racing that I was checking out, talking about probably about a month or so ago here on this show. So that's on there without all the freemium stuff, that bugs the crap out of you. I think I remember these are one of those games early on that include the built-in Twitch play from your iPhone. But it looks really good if you got some decent hardware, and can't wait to play this one on the big screen on the newer Apple TV to see how that looks too. So it plays tremendous again on my 3-year-old iPhone 8. So, but definitely worthwhile. A couple of nice updates here to the Apple Arcade this week. So, Miles, let's get to your awesome thing of the week here. So, Tell us about this experiment that you ran this weekend.
Oh, well, I've had this idea for a while that I've been chewing on, which is, if my girlfriend got me into Facebook Marketplace and just all of the junk on there that you can buy. And I started looking, actually earlier this year, I got into film photography, and I've been doing a lot of shopping around for film stuff on there because it's a good place to find people that they're just getting rid of stuff. and I kept coming across these old either these old digital cameras or point and shoots, or you name it, all sorts of different tech from the last 20 years, or even 30 years, some of it, and it's all dirt cheap because nobody wants it, and it's not great. It's a lot of it is consumer stuff, but I had this idea to do a project, which is to just spend as little money as I can, or in this case, the parameters I set for this particular project was I was sitting in the passenger seat on our way down to illustrious Kingsport, Tennessee.
We learned a lot about that town that weekend.
Yes, yeah,
maybe everything.
And I sat there and I went, I have $40 cash in my pocket. What can I get to just shoot some quick pictures this weekend for $40? So I started looking around on Facebook Marketplace, and I found this little guy here. This is a Lumix DMC-LZ8. It's a consumer point and shoot camera. I think it originally retailed for like maybe $150, $160. And Tim, shout out to Tim from Kingsport, was selling it for, there's the screenshot of it, selling it for $35. And so I hit him up and asked him if he could drive out to the hotel where we were staying and drop it off. And I gave him the money, and spent the last $5 I had on a super cheap little tripod from Walmart, and spent the couple hours of free time I had that weekend just trying to get the most out of this camera that I could. And if I'm really good at my job here, you'll see the pictures pop up on screen.
There we go.
So I didn't get a chance to take a ton.
That's me trying to figure out my Amazon locker code that I couldn't find, because I needed a cord for this gig, and I'm like, well, I'll send it to a local Amazon locker, and I'm like, how do I get into this Amazon locker at what the hell time was it we were at that gas?
Oh, it was probably,
it's a dangerous time of day.
Midnight. Yeah, the questionable folk had showed up in the parking lot.
Yes.
So that's how late it was. But just a couple here. And these have been, I've done some very light editing to them. It only shoots JPEG, so there's only so much you can do to these. But I was actually pretty impressed with what I was able to do with this thing.
What is this light?
This is one of the little they're just the walkway lights outside the front of the hotel, and I just I wiped some grease off of my face and wiped it across the lens to get that cool lens flare. And I did some astrophotography. Not the best for astrophotography, but if it's all you got, it works.
It looks like it could be stars.
Yeah, there's some stars in there. And I think I should have a couple more here. Oh, this is a good one. This was a highlight of the trip. The last day that we were there, we were driving back, we stopped at Powell's Sudden Service, and I don't know where your viewers and listeners are from, but I had never heard of Powell's Sudden Service.
Me neither.
And we felt that perhaps the name Sudden Service was a bit drastic, I suppose. But then we got in line, and I think we were in and out of there in like maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah,
it was pretty sudden. The service was sudden for sure.
And it says admire art for you guys on audio, and I love there's a friend of ours named Art, and somebody took the picture and tagged him in it. So
what service? So what does PAL offer from a services perspective? Because all I can think is like he's like auto repair.
It's fast food.
Oh, okay.